Welcome, everybody, to another installment of Hidden Variables podcast. I'm Deb Shakti, your host, and I am so delighted today to have someone I consider a soul sister or someone I have a kinship with as far as being an experiencer, Nancy Thames, on the show today. She is an amazing being. I think you're going to really enjoy the show. She has just a lifetime of experience to talk about and so much wisdom to disperse for us. So let me tell you just a little short bio of Nancy, and then we'll get right into talking to her in proper form. Nancy Thames, a former Department of Defense employee and lifelong contactee of interdimensional and extraterrestrial beings, has emerged as a significant voice in the realm of alien disclosure and spiritual awakening. Her journey, marked by personal struggles, transformed profoundly through her continuous extraterrestrial encounters. These experiences, initially suppressed, were eventually embraced as Nancy began to understand their purpose in her life and for humanity. She has come to the decisive conclusion that it is time for disclosure. Her dedication to this cosmic narrative propelled her to create timefordisclosure.com, a wonderful platform advocating for open dialogue about extraterrestrial interactions and a greater implication for humanity. Here, she shares her personal encounters, insights gleaned from beings across dimensions, and her perspective on what those interactions mean for human evolution. She stresses that experiences often labeled as abductions are, in her understanding, enlightened contacts, part of a broader benevolent interaction with extraterrestrial entities aiming to usher humanity into a new era of cosmic participation, and I can't agree more. This mission, conveyed through her writing and community engagement, is driven by a philosophy of unity, spiritual evolution, and a pursuit of truth, extending an invitation to all of humanity to acknowledge and embrace our place within the larger galactic framework. Wow. Welcome to Hidden Variables, Miss Nancy. You are a jewel, and thank you for agreeing to be on the show today. Welcome, welcome. Well, Nancy, that bio just really, it's beautiful, but it doesn't scratch the surface of who you are. I've been following you for quite some time, and I just am watching you in awe from afar most of the time, because you have taken the bull by the horns. You're not just a lifelong experiencer and an advocate for, common grassroots disclosure, but you are definitely a person of deep wisdom and deep heart. And I'm so honored to have you on this show. So welcome.
Thank you very much. I'm proud to be here. I think this is something that we're all experiencing. It's just some people don't realize it, but we're all waking up. Overall, humanity is waking up and becoming more aware of who they are and their personal place. Everybody here on Earth chose to be here, and everybody chose to be here at this time. So the way I see it is we're really all a part of disclosure. It's just that we're waking up at different times and realizing who we truly are, not what the world around us has created us to be, but who we were before and now, and who we will become. And that's the beauty of it all. And we just extraterrestrials and interdimensionals, and even our own planet has been sitting aside watching us grow, watching and waiting for us to evolve into this beautiful being. And we're at that pivotal point where it's all happening. And we are so fortunate to all be alive right now and a part of this. And I think as everyone reach higher consciousness, they will come to know, come to accept, and come to understand. So it's not really anything that we have to push, or it's good for us to set examples, and it's good for us to put information out there, because as each individual wakes up, they will start looking on their own. We don't have to push anyone into this, and it's none of us desire to do that, but we are here for the ones that want to know things. So, but we're all waking up and getting there. And that's the beautiful part of this, is that we're all a part of this.
Oh, I can't agree more. I just get, my heart just jumps around in joy every time I hear you speak, because you and I are absolutely like this on this subject. I agree with you. I believe all of us are connected. I come at things from the quantum science perspective, and it helps me to understand all of this really confusing information that we've been given over the years. And I've heard you speak a lot about how the powers that want to stay in power also want to keep us from knowing who we are and what our capabilities are, because it behooves them, it profits them. But in the end, and maybe you agree or disagree with me, but what I've been shown and what I truly believe deeply in my heart is that all of us are here, incarnated on this planet, to have these experiences, to grow from them, to gain insight, and then to kind of report back to the mothership, if you will, in quotes. No one is not affected by this. I believe everyone is an experiencer, and but they're just not able to remember or connect with it yet. And I just, my interdimensional guides, ET guides, always say, hey, you're all walking the same path, but some of you are, walking slower, or you're taking little detours, and some of you are walking faster, and it doesn't matter. There should be no judgment about that. But I totally agree with you in the fact that we are all here for a pivotal moment. This incarnation, I've been told a million times by different civilizations, this particular timeline, this incarnation that we're all experiencing right now, is the one where everything happens, where we make the jump.
Yeah. We're the generation that's going to make a difference. And it's not just individual people, it is humanity overall. And it's such a beautiful thing. The way that they've showed me this is that it all happens slowly and in a beautiful design. It's all designed. And like you said, we are all here having the human experience. And that is the human experience, is to the ups, the downs, the good, the bad. We have to experience all these things to become better humans. That's the whole purpose. It's just like when we're toddlers learning to walk, we fall down many, many times before we're able to go the full stride. And life is like that. And without these mishaps, we would never learn a thing. And
without any kind of stimulation, I don't want to call it pain, but without any kind of contrast, you can't grow past where you are, because you just stay there. You'd be like in a place of homeostasis, right? So so we can complain and bawl our eyes out over different things that are happening, but I truly know this, they are all happening for a reason. And these beings who are visiting us, and I don't think they're visiting us, they're just here always, forever with us.
Yes.
They are here to guide us and help us along the way. I have a friend, Costa Macreus, who runs ET Let's Talk. He says there are kind of like our elder brothers and sisters, kind of guiding us along, saying, hey, it might be time to come off of that little path over there where all the thorn bushes are.
Yes.
Come back onto the main path where it's easier, and you can find the berries or something. But I totally agree with you. And I love that you have become so outspoken. I know that it can be very difficult. And this is, I spend my days and nights talking to people who are terrified to speak out or even seek out someone to talk to about this, because we've all been programmed by media and culture and religions and governments to think this is wacko, or it's not to be spoken about. It's not anything, and of course, then we come back to that control and power and greed thing. But what I love about you is you are so real and you're so honest and you talk to anybody about this. And I just love it. And I love your platform. Uh,
Thank you.
we are the disclosure. It's just wonderful. Um, so what I'd love to do is just have you tell a little bit of your story. I know you're probably tired to death of saying it, but there are so many new people watching you today who've never met you. And I'd love for them to know who Nancy Thames really is.
Yes. Well, all this started for me, or my conscious memories are from 2 to 3 years old. And at that point, I had no fear barriers. I had nothing around me I had no reason to be scared. So it was playful, it was fun, and it was enjoyable, something I looked forward to. And they made it that way. Sometimes they would change the scenery around me or fly me around, holding hands with them, flying over cities or over things. And they were like educating me. It was like a school.
Oh, yes.
And so I was not scared at all, and it was fun. When I started to get older, it was what made me start to become scared was the world around me.
Oh, sure.
And my mother and father saying, go back to bed. Those are bad dreams. Those things are not real.
Mm-hmm.
Go back to bed. So between that and and eventually them saying, you cannot talk about this to other family members. You cannot talk about this at school. You cannot talk about this churches or anywhere you go, because they will think you are crazy. And people have been institutionalized for talking about these things. So unfortunately, well, it really wasn't. It all had to happen this way, because at that period of time, that's just the way it was.
Oh, yeah.
It was not a topic of discussion, and it was misunderstood. We'll say that. So because
Perfect.
of that, the world around me made me become fearful. And when that happened, the interdimensionals and extraterrestrials understood this. So again, they would make it as they was consciously would allow me to be a part of it as much as possible. But what they do is, if you get over anxiety, have an anxiety attack or start having a panic attack, they will touch you and put you in a sedated functional state where you can still go through the experience, but you don't have all those fears and anxiety. And so you're
right.
But the only problem with that is when you come back home and you're fully conscious, your memories are fragmented.
Yeah.
And a lot of people think that that's not very nice that they do this, but actually they're doing us a favor, because they're not here to hurt us. They're here to educate us and check on our evolutionary stage, or check on our mentality, et cetera, to seeing where we are spiritually, how we are advanced. So a lot of that is misunderstood. So because they know that we are very emotional beings, then they will just get us out of that fearful state. And that way we still have the experience, and they can check on us. And they do a lot of, if they can, they will even fix human beings, to help them with their health and stuff. But because the human beings are here on free will, they're limited as to certain things that they can do. So if you made a soul contract that you only wanted to be here a short time and experience something, they can't interfere in these things. Right. But they do everything that they can possibly do that without overstepping that boundary. But I will say, I do know that there was one race of grays that did overstep their boundaries. And again, I think a lot of that was misunderstood, but everybody has a right to their own perception and of what was happening. And, of course, fear is involved. And when fear is involved, we don't think straight and we don't understand everything going on around us. So the interpretation of the visit is clouded with fear. So, but I don't dismiss the fact that people really had those fears and misunderstandings, and that's understandable. And they know these things.
Right, right.
Um,
I take everybody at face value these days.
yeah,
I have learned never to judge anything anybody tells me, even if they're trying to
yeah,
put one over on me, because there's still something there, right?
yeah,
So,
yeah,
but I agree with you. There are things that can be so overwhelming that they will put us into an almost a somnambulant state where it goes into the subconscious instead of the conscious memory.
yes,
Um, or they will give us what, the great Whitley Strieber coined as a screen memory, right? Right. You think you're seeing a giant owl in the road, and that's weird, but it's not as scary as seeing someone in their true form that you're not that you're not ready to perceive that. And so I agree with you on that. And um, I just think it's important that people understand from this point over, I just really work towards this with everyone and don't judge anybody's experience. And then I'm not even talking about just extraterrestrial or
oh,
interdimensional contact. I'm
right,
talking
right.
about the whole ball of wax,
Paranormal ball game. Yeah. There's great stuff
everything,
out there.
because it's all consciousness. We are of the same consciousness that all those things are. They're just different layers of frequency of experience, right?
Right.
So, and I love that you talk about this a lot, as far as like the one type of grays that came through, and people thought they were, not
Yeah.
benevolent or whatever. They have their own work to do, and they're working on their own layer. And I believe, I don't know, maybe I'm going to ask you this question, how you feel about this. But what my perception is you are able to have the perception of what's happening according to what vibrational state and emotional state you're sustaining. So if you come from a place of deep fear of these things,
Right.
then you are probably going to perceive that as a scary experience.
Yeah.
I
We kind of
mean,
create our own reality around us.
we
And
absolutely do.
yeah, so but that's the beauty of reaching higher consciousness. As we reach
Yes.
that, all these man-made drama scenarios that we created, humans created, they cease to exist because they no longer serve us, and we
Right.
realize that we outgrow those those ways of thinking. We are outgrowing wars, we are outgrowing negativity,
Yes.
we are outgrowing all these things, and that's the beauty of evolution and change, and that's why they are billions of years ahead of us, and those things don't exist in their reality
Right.
because they have
They've
outgrown it,
refined.
and
Right.
you move away from those things,
Yeah.
and it becomes you'll get to the point to where that's just the way the world is now, and you won't even realize that your life used to be like that because the new world is so beautiful and wonderful. You don't even think of have those negative thoughts anymore.
Yeah.
And people say, well, what Kool-Aid are you drinking? It's not a Kool-Aid that I'm drinking.
No, it's
It's just
reality.
it's reality, and that's just the way the cycle of life in the universe works. And the universe has been waiting on us because it is conscious, and all the things on our planet are conscious, and they've all been waiting for us to kick in gear and reach the
Right.
level of understanding, and understanding our connection to everything, and our connection not only to our planet and earth and all the living beings and things on it, but our connection to extraterrestrials and interdimensionals and the universe, because everything we do affects them, ripples out and affects them.
Yes.
So as we reach higher consciousness, it helps them increase theirs, and we all evolve, and we all come together as one. And that's the beauty of it, is understanding we have never been alone. We have never
No,
been alone. They've
that
been
is,
waiting for this day, and we are literally the generation the world has been waiting on, and that the universe has been waiting on, for us all to come together and realize that we're connected, and we're all energy beings, and we all are connected, and with our unity and oneness, we're unstoppable. We can do so many
yes.
great things. and we can be part of the cosmic realm and do wonderful and amazing things for the generations under us. And we will be remembered as a generation that
did it.
reached the change. Yeah, that made a change.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. And you're so eloquent when you speak about it and so heartfelt. It just makes me want to cry because
Yes.
I've been saying the same things for decades and people thought I was absolutely wackadoodle. And that's fine because it does sound, if you were to show somebody from 200 years ago a cell phone, they would have burned you as a witch, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because they weren't ready. But I feel like this particular moment in time, the human species, the planet Earth itself has been in a gestation period.
Yes.
And these higher level versions of us basically are now coming to help be midwives, I guess, to the new generation, to the new human.
Once the positive extraterrestrials and the interdimensionals realized that we were all reaching a higher frequency, they surrounded our planet. They came in close to us, and they're around us, and they're surrounding us with love, surrounding us with positive thoughts and peace, unity. They're surrounding us. And with people like you and me, we're vibrating on a higher frequency because we want these things to happen and we feel it. And as we feel these things, we raise our frequencies and it expands. It's contagious. From what I've seen, it's contagious. Everybody around you wants to feel that feeling. And when they get a little taste of it, it goes from there. And I can see it. It just spreads through humanity like the common cold, kind of. It just spreads.
It is. It's viral. It is absolutely viral. I couldn't have said it better myself. And I believe, this is just my own perception, but I believe that's why when you look out into the general world, through the eyes of social media or news or even most Hollywood movies or whatever, government proclamations, it's all geared to turn you the other way from that because we are so close. And that would seriously, it's going to disrupt everything.
Yeah.
And people are wired, human beings are wired towards comfort. They don't, even if it's like being in an abusive relationship, even if it's a horrible relationship, a lot of people will stay in one just because they're afraid of of the unknown out there. If you leave this, you actually know what's happening, but if you go out there, but what's interesting is the unknown, what's out there, which is really in here, is where all the magic happens. And they keep telling us this over and over and over again. They keep showing us this. You mentioned as a child, you were taken, as I was, up into craft or whatever. We don't know what that is, but Whitley calls that the secret school. And I can attest, I was there. I know it.
Yeah.
And we were shown many things and brought up, almost educated to kind of work our way into this life as adults to kind of help save the planet. Like, I've always been an eco-activist and, a civil rights person and equality and all of that because of what they showed me, of how we could turn and go the other way. And it would just, not that we're ever going to fail and they won't let us blow ourselves up or ruin it completely, but would just set ourselves back,
Yes.
So talk a little bit about, if you want to, about from your childhood on up, about some of the, what other people would call abductions, you and I call, interacting with our relatives, and our teachers.
Yeah. Well, the one race of grace did overstep the boundary of human beings being here on free will. And when they did that, they pretty much were no longer part of the collective consciousness of the whole other races of grace and with the positive extraterrestrials. And every race has its renegade little few,
Sure.
there are not many of them, but there are some, and they're not demonic by any means. They're not demonic. When I call something negative, what I mean is that they are self-serving, only thinking
Yes.
about their race, and really have no regard of what any other race thinks about what they're doing.
Mhm.
And they're on a mission. So if it's genetic testing, they're doing genetic testing. And
Sure.
they don't see it as a bad thing, because they're trying to improve the genetics of their species and other species, so, and the fact that they are self-serving, that means that if you're fearful, or they tried to help people with the fearful parts and stuff, but sometimes that didn't work. But
Mhm.
I think basically they do not have as much empathy for the human beings as the rest of the greater number of extraterrestrials.
Mhm.
So they were kind of, they're on their own. They are not part of the collective consciousness. So, but I do not, they are not demonic, and they did not do
No.
anything intentionally to harm, but people, I think, misunderstood it. And I can't, I can't, I wasn't there. I have no way of knowing everything, but I do know that they're not demonic, and they would not intentionally do something. They might have done something that was misunderstood.
Right. They're just working
That
from
kind of thing.
a different level of frequency, and
Yes.
that's what their focus is.
Yes, they're very task
Just like
oriented.
people around here,
Yeah.
our fellow human beings. Everybody's working their own agenda, and you see people who are more service to self. We could call them egotistical or narcissistic or whatever, or selfish, but really they're walking their own path at their own
Right.
pace, and they're not demonic. They're just in a different state of mind than you and I might
Exactly.
be.
Well, I've talked to Travis Walton a couple of times, and
Yes.
the movie portrayed it much
Oh,
differently than
I
the
know.
actual what happened. But even he will tell you, as he's gotten older, he now has a better understanding, and they saved his life.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
could
he
have
was gonna
left him
die.
there and he would have died, but
Yeah,
they took him and they saved his life.
yeah,
And it took him a very long time to finally understand the purpose, the intention, what really happened, because at first all the fears was so overwhelming. You just don't think rationally when you're in that state. And that's a
yeah,
normal thing for a human being to feel.
right.
That's normal. There was nothing wrong about it. It's just at
No,
that
it's a
particular
survival
time, there was
mechanism.
just no way your brain could understand such a thing
Mhm.
happening.
Yeah, it's funny that you bring him up. I was going to bring him up earlier and say even Travis Walton has completely changed what he believed in the beginning about his experience,
Yeah.
and so many. I mean, my goodness, the movie we made, Alien Abduction Answers, is it's a good it's a good example. The filmmaker John Yost, who just recently passed on.
Sorry about that.
Uh, yeah, he what he thought he remembered originally that was really terrifying was something completely different, and basically it was a wake-up call to start working his purpose and wake other people up, which I think he really did.
That's
And
wonderful.
it's
Yeah.
funny, you and I don't like the word abduction at all,
I
and I
don't.
fought him tooth, fang, and claw over that title of the movie. But he had a method to the madness. He's like, you know what? If we named it something airy fairy and lovely, we
Yeah.
would never reach the people who are the people who need to see and understand that it is not an abduction,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So,
Well, and that's the reality of humans and their perception of things. You've got to draw their attention to it. So
right.
it makes perfect sense.
And you have to speak their language and come at them from the place where they are. You have to meet them where they are. You
Yeah.
can't pull them up way up here when they're down here, you can't explain trigonometry to a preschooler for the most part,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
So continue on. I just talk about anything you want to talk about. I just love every part of your story,
Oh,
and
wow. Well, I've had many experiences, and I guess some of the fascinating ones would be the when my son and I, my son is an experiencer just like I am, and I have two sons. They're both experiencers, but one has experiences like I do and has taken it to the next level. My
cool.
youngest son, he's not there yet, and that's fine.
Yeah,
Everybody's got
absolutely.
their own path, and that's fine. But my oldest son and I took a uh, mother-son trip to Mexico because the interdimensionals and extraterrestrials wanted us to go there.
Hmm.
And we went. My son got his tickets and got us there, and we went up to this mountain. We drove up this mountain. It took 3 hours to get up there, and it was so cold, and nobody spoke English, and it was very primitive. But they basically wanted us to see an indigenous tribe called the Zapotecs, and they
Oh,
wanted us
yes.
to meet them and understand that they were on the verge of their own ascension, but it collapsed because all of their younger generations decided that they wanted a taste of materialistic things, and they wanted a taste of technology in
Hmm.
their little world, their tribe, their culture. Um, Very few people have electricity, and they certainly do not have like appliances. They cook outside, they do their laundry outside. Some of them have light in their homes, and that's pretty much it. Very few have phones, and there's really no computers. And maybe in some of them have it, but not all. And and for the first part of the whole week we were up there, the whole mountain was without electricity. So it was amazing to see how these people just evolve around whatever the situation. They
Yeah.
adapt, and things
Wow.
carry on. Restaurants would stay open, cafe would stay open. So what? They didn't have electricity.
Yeah, they
They knew
just
how to adapt to the
figured it
world
out.
around it. Yeah. And but the main thing they wanted us to see, and my son really got to experience he spent a whole day with the Zapotecs in the jungles, and they were teaching him how to forage through the forest,
Oh,
and how they grow their own food, and how they forage, and how they only take what they need.
yes.
They never totally wipe out a whole plant because they see plants and trees as living
As
beings.
consciousness.
So you never ever, if you see a whole family of flowers, you never pick the whole bunch. You leave
Right.
some there. So
Hmm.
they wanted
Oh,
us to experience that. And basically for me, what they did was when they came to visit, they took their hands out and said, and we walked out we were in a cabin, and we walked outside, and they said, everything is alive.
yes.
Everything is alive.
Love
And
this.
they showed me visions of plants and trees all communicating and talking. And they explained to me that humans do not see this because of us being in a 3D world, but there's life all around us that we don't see. And that doesn't mean that it's not happening. We just don't see it yet. And as we evolve and become higher consciousness, we will start to see more things. So they wanted us to understand our connection with our planet and with the air, the water, everything, our earth, and that our earth is a living being. And what's so significant to them about us is it's not just us, it is everything on earth,
All together.
everything,
Mhm.
because we're all connected, and what affects one affects all. So basically it was just, an understanding of our connections, and
Yes.
the importance of it, and that the consciousness of a plant is not exactly like the consciousness of a human being, but they still have a consciousness.
Yes.
And so, they were just explaining all these things. And also what was really unusual is that when my son had been out all day, I didn't see him all day. He was backpacking out in the woods with this tribe. And he was going to spend the night. And I really wasn't expecting him, but he was so excited by all the things that he had learned. He carried his huge backpack and came all the way back. And the minute he stepped through the door, he said, "Mom, I've got so much to tell you." And he said the first thing they said to me when the man walked out of his home, he took his hands out and said, "Everything is alive."
You know,
And he and I both started crying because
oh,
that's
wow.
exactly what the interdimensional
That's
extraterrestrials
what they're
had
trying to
said.
tell
Everything
us.
is alive. And so it was just like affirmations. So it was just unreal. And the whole experience was just beautiful. And, why I understand, I think now, why they wanted us to go there is because it was giving us examples, because everybody hears in a big stir about AI technology, and
Yeah.
they were explaining to me that this technology is a man-made tool.
Mm-hmm.
We have to keep it as a man-made tool. And if we simply turn it loose with the wrong individuals, or we don't pay attention to it and let it just run things and not use our intelligence,
Yeah.
that yes, it could be a horrible thing. But if we use our intelligence, our higher consciousness, and use it to where it benefits all of humanity, it can be a beautiful thing, and it can help us
Absolutely.
grow and become better, and help us to become the galactic beings, and enjoy our lives, because our lives here are very, very short. And a lot of it has to do with our air being polluted, our food, our water, our everything has toxins and chemicals in it. And once we become higher consciousness, we're going to learn that by living better and taking better care of our body, we can extend our longevity, we can extend all these things, and there should be no poverty, there should be no disease.
Right.
And everything on our planet, there was things put here to cure everything, all our needs from the very beginning of time. But we have lost our connections with these things. But as we reach higher consciousness, we will wake up and remember everything we need is here. So,
Right.
and learn to live a different way, not the way that the world around us has developed us and programmed us into, but look in our heart and remember. And once we all remember, we're going to say, we already know this. What they
Right. It'll
always
be
say to
that
me.
snap, right?
And because whenever I ask them something, they say, you already know. And
Yes.
it's that way with humanity. Humanity already knows. We just have to wake up.
Yeah.
Wake up. Yeah.
Well,
So that was a beautiful thing for me. And
gosh.
eye-opening, and something that I love sharing, because we do know these things.
We do. We've just forgotten them, and we're just overstimulated as well in this culture. People ask me, they're like, "Well, how come you can see these people and I can't?" I'm like, "Well, number one, you have to learn some techniques to turn off the outside noise."
That's right.
And so, I teach a lot of different things, a lot of them come from yogic or, ancient. They're all ancient technologies, but they're pre-human,
Yeah.
I was going to ask you, you and I are right on the same page as far as lifting our vibrational state and sustaining it so that we can perceive more, because the higher we go in vibrational state, the more our scope of perception is widened, and we're able to perceive the beings who are here always, and everything else, all the glorious stuff that comes with that. Do you ever talk about, or have they told you methods to give to the world to help raise the vibrational state so that their consciousness state can rise as well?
About a year and a half ago, I experienced the Kundalini awakening. And when it happened to me, I didn't know what it was.
Oh, wow.
Because I never studied any of this stuff. It just happened. And that is because they instigated this, because I needed a little push into listening to my subconscious and not second guessing the information that they were giving me. So when they gave me the Kundalini awakening, that opened my subconscious up into my human consciousness.
Right.
So, and that gave me a lot of insight and just knowledge and a remembrance of who I am and who the Nancy really is, who I am inside, not what the world around me has created, but the true me and my purpose here and what my experience and my path is. So for me, that was beautiful. And I think all people will experience this, as I think it's just part of, as you reach higher consciousness, as we raise our frequencies, that's just a thing that happens to help us to open up and help us to remember who we are. But I think just like everything else, these things don't happen overnight. You have to grow into these things. You have to let your mind know that you're ready to perceive these things and open these barriers. And as that happens, then that's how all this information will start coming through.
Right.
And it's not picked out for certain individuals. It's for everybody. And that's just part of our human experience.
I love that. And dare I say, even this interview, you speaking those words, the energy that is unlocking those dormant abilities and an ability to understand them is being unlocked on the carrier wave of your words and my words. This interview, those of you who are watching or listening, no matter when or where, you're here on purpose, and this is your wake-up call.
And as I talk about this, the way that I feel, that the level of energy that I feel feels so good, and it's it feels so relaxing, so good, so energetic, and it's exciting. So that's why I think it's so contagious, is because
people want to feel good.
Yeah. Who doesn't want to feel good? And it feels good. It's like it rewards you.
It does.
It's a rewarding feeling, and it grows. And, the more you want to be better, the more you want to think positive, the more that you see the beauty in things, not the bad things, the beauty in things. And I always tell people, when being human, naturally, we're going to have our feelings hurt. Naturally, we're going to have negative thoughts, but our behavior we can't control. And when we have those thoughts, replace it with too good. Start off that way, and then it just becomes habit. It becomes a habit of a way, and that's what it means for us to have a new way of thinking and a new way of living. And it doesn't happen overnight. We grow into it. So
we do.
Yeah.
It's like, you don't learn how to read overnight. You learn little by little by little, and then suddenly you're reading and you're like, oh, I don't even remember how it was before I could learn how to read.
That's exactly. And that's like, people always ask me, how do you know you're in the fourth or whatever dimension?
Yeah.
These things are not physical places. They are higher consciousness. It's reaching higher consciousness. Right. And then we do our world around us. We see more, we understand more, we experience more.
Exactly. And by virtue of what we bring ourselves to, then we're pulling everybody else up with our vibrational state, which is, I think, why people like you and I are here. Not that I'm anybody special, but finally getting brave enough to just come out and speak about it literally helps to affect everybody else. And it adds to that, the consciousness grid around the earth.
When they look down at us, that's what they see. They see our frequency level, and they know we are. And I can see it. I mean,
I can too.
I see it. And there's like people that say they don't think it's ever going to happen. I already see it happening.
It's happening. You can't stop it. It's like a big snowball now.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm so excited. That's why, especially this year, I was given so much to do by our teachers.
Yes.
And they want me to start this podcast. They want me to start an experiencer group. And thank you, by the way, for joining it. I hope you will be active in that group, because people need to hear you. But everything any of us can do to affect positively the world really is the agenda. And that's what I've been told. You don't have to be the most celebrated person in the world, the most knowledgeable. You don't have to have a big TV show or anything. Just be the best you can be, and you affect everybody around you, and it lifts the consciousness up another layer so that we can receive more. It's a reciprocal thing. It's not, we have to be dormant until somebody gives us the magic key and then everything makes sense. No, we're, like you said, we're all connected. So as we learn and grow and begin to develop and evolve into higher level beings, that helps them to evolve into even higher level beings, and so forth and so on.
Yeah, and the beauty part is from what I've seen just from being around the interdimensionals and stuff, even the least little thing I do, and if I say I wonder if I did the right thing, for one, I went to a lot of mental therapists in this area where I live, and I was talking to them about learning more about experiencers and anybody with the paranormal, anything.
Right.
Because disclosure has started, and it's not going to cease. It's going to
it doesn't turn back. Yeah,
it doesn't go backwards.
It's a snowball,
and they need the world, all of their mental therapists, and they need to be prepared, because this is a big thing. This is a worldwide phenomenon, and there will be people that will be crushed by some of this information. Mm-hmm. So we need to be prepared to help all of humanity, even the ones that don't understand some of this. And, eventually they will, but it may not be at the same pace as some of us. So if they would raise their consciousness level and be aware of these things, it would be very beneficial to have, but having groups like you have, like I have, and like Opus and UAP Medical Coalition, and there's so many more, experiencer support in Canada. There's so many. I think they
go by Let's Talk, another global one.
Let's Talk. There's so many, and those things are very, very instrumental, because people don't always have a family member to talk to, and they need places to communicate and be around like-minded people to give them their affirmations, and to have someone to just listen, having someone to listen. And so, but what the reason I bring this out is that I never ask them for anything.
Me either.
I have their family. I have so much respect, and I don't play around with. I just don't play around with things like that. But as I was driving home, I was thinking to myself, I wonder, if I did the right thing, because these people could easily all recommend me to go see a doctor or whatever, and think that I'm crazy. And all of a sudden, telepathically, they said, look to your left. And I looked to my left, and there's a beautiful disc sitting right there.
Oh, my gosh.
Sitting there for me. And that's their way of letting me know, we're so proud of you. You did good. You did the right thing. And also
validation.
And they do know everything we do down here. They do.
Oh, yeah.
They know. They're very much a part of our lives, and paying very close attention to how we all progress. Because this is a big deal to them. Just as it's a big deal to you and me, it's an even bigger deal to them, because we're all connected, and they've known about the connection, but we're just figuring it out. So this is a really, really big deal to them, and they're very excited.
I don't know about you as a mother, but I remember, those milestones when my children were learning how to crawl, learning how to walk, learning how to speak, learning how to read. You just get so excited. And it's because as they learn and grow, they're going to be part of the new force that's going to help propel our whole species, our whole planet. And I know that that's what our teachers, our relatives are doing. And they're just, again, they're us. We are so connected. There's no disconnect there. There's no hierarchy. It's just, we're all here in this together, this cosmic soup, to help each other.
We're a reflection of them.
Yes.
people say they're going to take over. They could have already done all these
Oh,
things.
they would have,
You know,
if that was
they
the agenda.
they are here to assist, to help for the
Yeah.
betterment of humanity.
Yeah.
That's simply all it is, and also to finally have that connection, that loving connection of us understanding that they're not, and I don't even like the word alien at all. I
Oh,
don't
I
believe
can't
we use
stand the
that
word
word.
alien.
I
Yeah.
think that we need to change a lot of our wordage, because I don't like the word alien, and some people don't like the word extraterrestrial. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I think we because we've humanized so much of this, and there's nothing, there's no
Mhm.
there's no humanizing a generation that's billions of years ahead of us.
Yeah.
There's no human
Yeah.
aspect except that they helped in our creation, and we are a reflection of them. So
Exactly. I
yeah.
have my friend Jimmy Blanchett, who is a radio scientist and does things with them, and I do sometimes with him too. I love his term. He calls it the intelligence.
That's
Other
neat.
people call it the consciousness. That's really more what it is. That's what we are. We are the intelligence as well. We are the consciousness as well. I know we're running out of time, but I've heard you speak on things that I've experienced too. Like when we do go into a craft, that thing is living. It's conscious, and it
It
is
is.
linked to the person or the persons who are
Yes.
using it, and it's integrated. They're integrated,
Yes.
just as we are integrated to this planet, and um, so why would we think that we're separate from anything else? And why would we ever think then that something else would want to do away with us or make us a slave or whatever? If they're that highly advanced, they're way past all that low vibrational agenda, I believe. I could
Yeah.
be wrong, but it's not what I've experienced. It's not what I am being told or shown. And I'm seeing the world wake up and beautiful things are
Oh,
happening.
I agree. And I think it's just a lot of things has been misunderstood, and a lot of things have been done intentionally to deter
Yeah.
uh, our acceptance of them, because the powers that have been over us for eons, the negative side of humanity and government and all these different black hats, whatever you want to label it or call it, they're in power. They've never wanted humanity to unite and become one and
No.
understand our connection to everything, because they do know their days are limited,
Yeah.
and they will be powerless once we figure all this out and take reign of ourselves and become part of the cosmic realm.
Yeah.
We have no use for any of that anymore, and we simply outgrow it all and walk away, and
Yeah.
they have nothing.
Yeah. Well, what I have seen and what I've been told is that those beings who are so woefully forgetful of who they are and what their capabilities are, they want to stay in power because they're afraid.
Yeah.
They're afraid of lack. They're afraid of losing control or whatever. So they're the most fearful people on the planet. When in fact, when this all comes to pass, they will be able to see, oh, there's nothing to be afraid of. There's enough for everyone, right?
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
so there's no need for this scrabbling for power and control, no need for wars, no need for slavery or judgment. And so it makes me happy to think that even the people that you think are the most despicable people on the planet will finally get relief and be happy too.
Yeah,
And
they'll eventually change,
yeah, at
but
their own pace,
yeah,
everybody does. But
and I think too that it's important that we understand we're going to have to be a forgiving
oh,
race,
yes,
because
absolutely.
of all the things that were done, and the suppression of our heritage, of what all's been done to keep this suppressed and secret. We're going to have to forgive. Most of those people are no longer alive, and sometimes as we don't like to realize this, but it's just like everything else in life. Sometimes things have to happen in these ways to
Mhm.
learn the
They're all
better.
pieces of the puzzle, right?
Yes, yes. And so
Everything.
we have to
Yeah.
accept and forgive some
Even
of
be
the things
grateful
that's done.
for, because
Yeah,
there are teachers. They,
yeah,
in some instances, they made us uncomfortable enough to move forward, right? And
yes,
without them, we'd have just kind of stayed stuck. So
right.
I agree with you 100%. And I believe this: forgiveness, gratitude, love, service to
And
others,
unity.
unity, all these things are the things that raise the vibrational state. So for those of you who are watching this and have had things happen to you, or people, hurt you or harm you, or whatever, please consider forgiveness. You don't have to be a doormat to them, of course, and you don't have to keep staying in that situation. But forgiveness, true forgiveness, just letting them go and moving forward and being the best you can be, I think is the way to go, and it will help them. And we don't want to hate
And it
anybody
helps
because we're
you
hating
because
ourselves.
until we learn, if we can't forgive, it's only hurting us.
Exactly.
It's part of your
Because we're so
healing.
connected.
It's how
Yeah.
we heal. So
Yes.
we have to heal. This is a huge healing process for us,
It
to
is. It's
wakening up and healing and forgiving and looking at the beautiful things ahead for us. Yeah.
absolutely, like you said, and it's so funny because this is what I've taught all these years as a teacher, is that when you have a negative thought or experience, immediately turn your attention and find at least two things or more that you can be grateful for, that you love, or that are beautiful, because that rewires the
It does.
experience and it changes the energy of it.
Mhm.
Um, so I loved it when you said it earlier in the podcast. You're just like speaking my own words. It's the most
Yeah.
incredible thing. But well, Nancy, there are like 50 other things I wanted to talk to you about today,
Yeah.
and we're going to have you come back on if
I
you're
would love
if you're
to.
up
Yeah.
for it, because you are a wellspring of information and experiences, and you're so delightful. Your heart is so beautiful and loving. But we do have to sign off pretty soon. I just wanted to ask: are there any parting words that you'd like to leave the audience for now? And then also, how can they get in touch with you?
Okay. Well, we have a war going on. Hopefully it will end at some time soon. But when there's something like that happening, do not choose a side.
Yes.
Do not choose a side, because if you choose a side, that is giving in or putting your frequency towards a negative
Right.
facet. And there's nothing good about a war. It doesn't matter who started it or what a war
Mm-mm.
is wrong. So pray for peace. Put your energy, meditate or pray, whichever you prefer, and focus on peace, and do not pick a side.
Yeah. That
And
that us versus them scenario does not belong in the
that's,
higher consciousness
you know,
reality.
it doesn't serve us at all. So, and as far, I have the website timefordisclosure.com, and then of course I have the Facebook group Time for Disclosure. We've never been alone. We are the disclosure. And then I belong to so many groups, including yours, and I really, all groups are good, and they seem to really work together. You
Yeah.
know, it seems like they're all kind of all unified and work together, and we're all working towards the betterment of humanity. So,
Yeah.
and putting information out there and giving people a safe place to feel comfortable as they become awakened at places where they can go, to communicate and be around like-minded individuals like themselves. So yeah. So thank you for having me. I appreciate
Oh,
it. I enjoy
oh,
this, and it makes me feel so good.
oh, Nancy, I'm high as a kite right now because of your heart and your energy, and
Yeah.
I just love you to pieces. I know this sounds weird, but
No,
I
I
uh,
understand
I,
it.
I
It
see
does.
I see a sister in you, and
Yeah.
thank you for being so brave to speak your truth to the world and to do all the things you're doing. You're an amazing human being.
Thank you.
and interdimensional being.
Yeah.
And we will have you back on definitely. But and just for those of you watching, I will put all of Nancy's links in the description below this podcast, or in any descriptions, even if they're audio podcasts, you will have those. So you just reach out to her. She's amazing. Join her groups, help her along. She's a bastion of light in this world that's just starting to wake up. So,
Yeah.
Nancy Thames, thank you so much for being one of the most incredible hidden variables in our Infiniverse. We love you and we respect you and we thank you.
Thank you.
In Lakesh, I'm another you.
Yes. Thank you.